7. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
All right, so the timer on SVG, it is 9:21, and we are back with you for another segment of our Activated Mornings program here on WEFM. And at this time, we are joined by Earl Cabba Bennett and Dr. Cleve Scott, and we'll be talking about the Calypsonian, or Soca Artiste and Calypsonian workshop that is happening this Saturday. All right, so Mr. Bennett and Dr. Scott, good morning to both of you. All righty, so Bennett, you are muted. All right.
I'm still muted?
No, you're unmuted now.
Okay, because I was wondering what's happening. Yes, I said good morning to you, the co-host, and wherever my voice is being heard, and I understand it's been streamed, and wherever I'm seen, it's indeed a good morning. God, it is indeed the Lord has made.
Amen. Dr. Scott, good morning to you.
Yes, good morning, ladies. Good morning, St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the wider diaspora.
All right, so tell us a little bit about this workshop that is happening tomorrow. What is the workshop, in essence, all about?
Well, let me just say, Dr. Scott, good friend of Calypso, good friend of culture, is the main facility. In fact, he's the person who developed the program. So my role is just to speak a little bit about the association, and then let Dr. Scott speak about the workshop itself, what is it we offered, and the items on the program. Yes, so thank you again for having me here. And wherever I said before, my voice is being heard or I'm being seen. The Seventeen Grenadines Calypso Association had the responsibility of developing Calypso in Simmons and Grenadines and promoting it as well. And we have had several initiatives. One of the responsibilities is to ensure, and insofar as possible, that we have competent judges. Okay, and in that regard, we have decided for the second year running, second consecutive year, to host a workshop to get new judges, to refresh those who have been there for years. We're aiming for a blend of youth and experience because, continuity is important. So we are sending out the message for younger, competent persons to join forces with us. It will be taking place tomorrow. That's tomorrow, the 31st of May, at the Teachers Cooperative Credit Union headquarters, beginning at 10 a.m. We are catering also for Soca Artists and Calypsonians. But I have a way of saying it, and I don't want to be inconsistent. I have it saying that the art form is Calypso. And from that art form, you have the subgenres. What we call Calypso, I call Kaiso. Raga Soca, which I proudly exclaim and claim, is our creation, and then Soca. So we're catering for all things Calypso, judges and artists. Because we want the Calypsonians, and when I say Calypsonians, I mean Kaisonians, rather Soca Artists and Soca Artists, to get an appreciation of what the judges do, what is the criteria. But having said that, I'm going to go over to Dr. Scott, who will go into more details about the workshop. Dr. Cleve Scott?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. President. Everybody knows Cabba. The workshop will be focusing firstly on the criteria of the various companies. Its intention.
Okay, Dr. Scott?
Yes.
All right, could you repeat that? You broke up for a moment.
The workshop firstly will focus on the criteria for the various competitions, where we would look at what the judges are to look for, and so that the Calypsonians and other persons who are interested in the competitions to know what it is we're looking for. So, for example, what do we mean by melody? Melody and chord structure of literary.
All right, Dr. Scott? Dr. Scott?
Seems like you've lost him.
Yes. All right. Can
Well,
Mr.
in,
President,
the- in, the, in the meantime, let me make a plug. And you ought to be aware we are into the 10th season. And the 10th season started Tuesday. Tuesday 27th, we had the Graduate Calypso 10th. On Wednesday 28th, we had Upstage Experience. And last night, we had Onto doing their act. I want to make a plea to Calypsonian lovers and potential prospective fans of Calypso to flock to the Rustlers Auditorium. The Calypsonians need your support. I often say that for the most part, getting involved in Calypso is a labor of love. Yes, they come mainly around carnival time, but it is the reality of the situation. But whatever we can do, that is why we are having this workshop with the assistance, with the help of a lover of the art form. A man who put his money where his mouth lies. Always there for Calypso. Dr. Cleve Scott. I thought was just got on, so I was just. Are you back, Cleve?
Yes, yes. The
Okay.
internet was messing up, so I changed my location.
All
Hope this
right.
works better.
So
Yeah, I
come out
was saying.
again and now over to Cleve.
Yeah, I was saying that we look firstly at the criteria for the various competitions. For example, when we say melody, what do we mean by melody? What's the difference between a melody and a chord structure? When we say lyrics, what kinds of literary devices we are looking for, and so on. And the intention is that every season we need to refresh our memories, we need to sharpen our skills. And it's not only for judges, it's for persons who are interested in judging in the future, and it's also for representatives of the various tents to hear and remind their colleagues what we're looking for. All right. We also, this year, we want to focus heavily on presentations because over the last couple of years, we recognize that the quality of the presentations are being questioned by the wider public. And, at the beginning of some of the songs, you have a long video or a long skit, or people put things on the screens, and it's not very effective. So we're spending a lot of time this year on presentations, what we look for in presentations. Those are the main focus of the workshop tomorrow morning.
Okay. No. Okay. So a question: would you also be? I know that you're focusing on the judging criteria, but would there also be a discussion with regards to lyrics in terms of the content that persons are putting forward? We note in Calypso, so I just gotta phrase this a particular way, right? Persons tend to think of, or young people tend to think of Calypso as for older folks. Many persons also are young persons are also not necessarily keen on listening to Calypso or participating in Calypso because sometimes it is so heavily focused on politics, or they think that in order for them to have a winning song or a hit song, it has to be based on politics. So what advice would you give to persons to come out to the Calypso tends to listen in the first place, but also in terms of the lyrical content that would encourage persons to want to come to these tents, especially if you're not necessarily into politics itself?
The workshop focuses on the judging criteria, and lyrics is one of the criteria for all the competitions, the Raga Soca, the Soca Monarch, and the Calypso competition. And what we want the judges to focus on is when we say lyrics, what do we mean by lyrics? What are we looking for? So that, for example, we look how you develop storyline. We look for your rhyming pattern. We look for the use of words. If you use what we call poetic license and so on, so that uh, a song that is well written lyrically would actually gain a higher point. Now, the various performers in the different competitions, at the end of these competitions, they do see the score sheet. So therefore, if you are in any competition, at the end of the season, you should know how well you wrote this song lyrically. And if you've been in it for a number of years, you should know whether or not you have been improving or not improving. Now, the point is that a song that is very popular might not necessarily be a song written properly lyrically, because popularity, people look for different things. Sometimes people, they look for a line that is very comical or entertaining or very current. But at the end of the day, we have to stick by the criteria. What is the judging criteria? Right? Now, you might have a song written lyrically very well, but there's no melody. The melody is questionable or wanting. So these are the kinds of things we want to focus on. But the wider question you're asking is how attractive the writing style might be. That's a personal thing to the wider audience, because some people like very simple songs, which we call historically a ditty. And there's a song that I use all the time to show how you could write a song very simple. I don't know how much you remember Crazy Uncle. We Blind, Crazy Uncle from the Georgia area, We Blind, which came out about almost 30, 40 years ago. It's a very simple song. It's not complicated lyrically. For example, there's a line in it to say, we talk about a good radio announced everybody talk about CBC win calendar, but we have Cap Randy D and Teresa right here. So that's an example.
Okay. Bennett?
Yeah, let me just say because Dr. Scott, I know the practice. We in recent times have not been receiving our score sheet.
Okay, Bennett,
Calypsonian
Bennett?
score sheet. Not in its entirety, meaning you won't know
Bennett?
and so on. But so to the
You can't hear it. It sounds like his phone is
His
ringing.
phone is going. Yeah.
And you do your work.
All right.
If you don't
Yes, end the call.
you may not know how weak you are, where you need to strengthen.
Okay. Are you trying to get his attention? All right, Bennett.
You hear it?
You're
you
gonna
hearing
have. I think a call was coming through on your phone, so yes, the song was we couldn't hear you clearly. So you're gonna have to start over.
Okay, but I was just saying I don't know if you heard, did you hear me from when I said about the score sheets not being made available to the Calypsonians?
No,
You heard
so
that part?
start. No,
Yes, I
didn't.
was saying. Yeah, I know Dr. Scott knows that in bars and Trinidad and so on, they do allow to see a score sheets. We have not been able to see our score sheets. And when I say score sheet, not in its entirety, because we also want to protect the judges, but at least remarks and so on, where your weak areas are, where your strengths are, so you could get proper feedback. So the next year, you can adjust and address these issues if there are issues with your calypso. Now, to your point, we know largely that calypso, people say quote unquote the old people thing, and sometimes it's heavily laden with politics. But as Cleve said, Dr. Scott, it's a matter of style. But in a tent, you can have entertaining calypso, popular calypso, humorous calypso, not necessarily make it to the finals or semi-finals, because I understand that when persons and patrons flock the tent, they want entertainment value. They just don't want to sit down there and what we call the chicken cushion and be bored. Calypsonians understand that for the most part, and some of them are trying to give you what you ask for, because if you are asking the marketplace to support you, you have to give them what they want. Isn't that so?
Mm-hmm.
But it be a mixture. If you understand how calypso is constructed, how the tent, because some people, just like all of us, we have our strengths. So some calypsonians have their strength, They can sing social commentary, not necessarily political. They can sing, some could sing philosophical song, some could sing humorous song, and still heavy on lyrics. But if you come to tent, variety is the spice of life, and we should offer you a varied package. Because in truth and in fact, Calypso has to evolve and is evolving. And if you want to attract new persons, we have to meet their taste. It has to be something positive to them. So you have to strike a delicate balance because you don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. You don't want to have your dedicated fans over the years and say, okay, this is the trend, forget about you. So you have to strike and this is one of the reasons why Dr. Scott is always around us because he's the tower of strength, he's a reservoir of information, and I'm telling you, tomorrow the Calypsonians and the judges are going to benefit from his wealth of experience.
Okay.
When you usually have these workshops, would you say that you get a satisfactory turnout from the singers, songwriters, etc.?
It varies. There are times when we had good turnouts, and there are times when there have been disappointing turnouts. Because I'm not going to hide the naked truth. I'm not going to be like the proverbial asterisk and put my head in the sand and speak gloriously about Calypso because there's only glorious things happening in Calypso. No, we have our challenges. So, short answer is at times it is really good, at times it is disappointing.
Okay. And you're speaking about evolution, and I listened to Dr. Scott in terms of him saying that the criteria is given. Now, one of the things that we do recognize is that music is evolving, right? The songs that you grew up listening to is a lot more fast-paced in terms of what we listen to now, and these are the songs. But I'm more focusing on the soca monarch competition of things, not so much the calypso. But is it known in terms of the judging criteria to the public, or do you think should be known to the public in terms of what the judging criteria is, not just for the judges and not just for those participating, but the general public? Because what we tend to hear is that, or what we tend to think is that the popular songs that we're hearing when they compete for Soca Monarch, in particular, that this should be the winning songs, right? Many of these songs don't have proper lyrical content, but they are catchy, they are fast-paced, they're popular on the ground, and as a result, many persons think that they should have a spot in terms of on the finals of the Soca Monarch night. So is it a case where the public needs to be made a bit more aware of the judging criteria?
Yeah, clearly, obviously. And we do encourage the wider media who do coverage of the various competitions to keep the people informed as to what is the judging criteria. But in any production, any artist can determine whether or not the priority is focused on the criteria of the competition or simply to make a popular song. Because your intention might be just to get people jump up and wave and so on, not necessarily to win a competition. But we as judges, we have to continue to focus on the criteria. And that's why we do workshops every year, so that we can continue to look at the criteria and to see to what extent from time to time you have to adjust the criteria. Because in the Calypso competition, lyrics is very important. Lyrics is usually the highest category, while in the Soca Monarch, lyrics is not the highest category, it's a lower category in terms of the value. Okay, so that's why we have to meet at all times to continue to see what it is, because as society transforms, you have, for example, new words, and the judges have to be very aware that there are new words, new vocabulary. For example, eat a food is a new terminology that has entered into our vocabulary and so on. So we have to keep abreast of what is happening, and we need to continue to speak to each other so that we can always be better prepared to offer better judgments.
Okay. And so to become a judge or to be considered a judge, do I just need to show up at the function tomorrow, the event tomorrow, to be considered to be a judge? Because You're talking about, okay, so new vocabulary being entered, and I'm thinking that sometimes many persons might be of the opinion that it's just more mature persons who might become judges or who might want to become judges, but clearly you should need to have a mixed panel of both young and older persons. So is it a case I can just show up and say that I would like to be considered as a judge? How does that actually work?
Well, to be a judge, you must meet a minimum requirement, which is obviously you have to know something with music, in terms of the rudiments of music. You must know about writing, so you have to have some idea in the literary world, such as being a former calypsonian, a veteran calypsonian. You must also know something about performance, like if you are a dancer, an actor, dramatist, and so on. Clearly, to become a judge, you can't just be a simple person who like calypso, because you might like calypso, but you do understand uh, the use of English, or the use of the what we call nation language, or the vernacular, or as Vincent can call it, dialect. So therefore, you have to have a mixture of these things. But at the same time, we try to educate the wider cross section, so that they can have a better appreciation, including calypsonians, as to what is required in the competition, what is the rules, what is the criteria. Uh, how do you score someone who's singing out of time? How do you score someone who don't have a rhyming pattern? How do you score someone for rendition, which is another category, when all is running up and down the stage and you can't hear things they saying? So all of these things you have to take into consideration. But clearly, if you've been around any of the competitions long enough, or if you've been an artist, a performer, a calypsonian, a soca artist, you qualify to judge. If you've been in the music industry for a long time, you qualify to be a judge. All right.
Okay.
I just want to add though that what Steve is saying, like anything else, if you're applying for a job, right, you have to have some prerequisite skills, right? And of course, like in a school, you go to school, but in order to know if you are competent, they set exams. So one of the things we just don't want to do is bring people there, speak to them, and then we don't have some means of assessing their capacity, their ability. And you are quite right, as I say, we have to strike a delicate balance. We want to encourage the youth. But for example, if you turn up tomorrow, we won't turn you back, because at least you are showing interest. And we don't the skill set of everybody in Sims and the Grenadines. Those who we know, we reach out to. But you may very well come there, you have the skill set, and turn out to be an excellent judge. You know? So, for example, to take this as an invitation, if you want to come, come. You,
But what do I walk with a CP? Would you do an on-spot interview? What
no,
actually
just come.
happened?
Just come to be part of it. We're not telling everybody to come, because we have people. So I am giving you a special invitation that if you want to come, you come. We cannot tell the whole assembly to come, because we have to cater, and we have a room that we have to cater in terms of accommodation, and also when it comes to food, we have to know who the numbers we're dealing with. So it's not an open invitation to Simmons and the Grenadines.
Right. But do you find that there is a shortage of judges, or in the fact, or in the sense where you're using about the same pool of individuals?
The truth be told, we have actually broadened the judges pool for the last 3 or 4 years, and we had some young person. But here was one of the challenges in a small country. You have people who are extremely competent, but you know what? They are associated with artists, so that rules them out. So you see some of the challenges that we have. So you might have a Jack Benner, you might have a Joshua Lewis, maybe that's another person who can judge at the senior level, because they are associated with an artist, or more than one. But they may well, because they're not involved at the junior level, they can judge at the junior level. In fact, I've reached out to some young, qualified judges who may not be able to judge because they are associated at the senior level, but they certainly can judge at the junior level because there aren't any association whatsoever. And it's important for continuity. So we must encourage young persons to get involved. And my expertise in one at a juncture, and then Dr. Scott, who is wide, about a wide range of skill set. He is best suited to speak about the judges' criteria and so on. That's why we are on here, and you notice how eloquently he's articulating about the judges' workshop.
Okay. All
What time does the workshop finish tomorrow? If you have that information.
It's an all-day workshop. It's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The part of it, you're going to do simulations. You have to do critique of performances. You have to be able to explain why it is you have decided to give a person a certain amount of points for, say, example, presentation or rendition. So it's a practical workshop. It's not theoretical. It's not lectures.
Okay. All right. So just give us a final reminder of all details with regards to tomorrow's workshop. Encouraging persons to come on down, reminder of the venue, and anything else that you will leave with us.
Dr. Scott, you do that, and I will just make another plea for thing. As I say, you
So
are
it's at
the
the Teachers Credit Union Conference Room, that's in Paul's Avenue, Paul's Lot, right next to the gas station. And we'll finish around 4 p.m. We have break, we have lunch, we have refreshments, and it's a practicum. So don't think you're going to be there getting lines or anything like that. You will look at videos, you would look at lyrics, and you would make your comments and so on. So anyone who have an interest in Calypso, you can attend. You can contact the president, Mr. Bennett, via the Calypso Association or the CDC.
All right, thank you, Dr. Scott. I just want to thank you, ladies, for hosting us. It's always good to be in the company of ladies, even this virtual. And you're doing a wonderful job from my interaction here. And I want to encourage you to continue to keep on doing your good things. But I want to end by saying again, because as the Calypsonian president, it's simply when this Calypsonian Association president, I have a duty to let people know about Calypso. So tonight, St. George's Rural Calypso will be having a rural carnival. That is, see, I'm so Calypso is so much in my head. I keep saying Calypso. But the rural carnival will be having a Soca, Monarch, and a Calypso competition tonight at St. George's. I want to again appeal to persons to come out in your numbers and support the art form. We can't do it alone. And to both hostesses, I want to invite you as well that if you have any comments, any suggestions, any recommendation, how we can enhance the product called Calypso, please feel free to reach out to me. Rajiv has my number. Because we know that we cannot be stuck one place. Einstein says it best. You can't be doing the same thing all the time and expect different results. If you're in that mold, then you're a lunatic. You're a crazy man. So we have to move on. So once again, I invite you young ladies to offer suggestions of how Calypso can improve. I thank you once again for hosting me. It has been a wonderful conversation.
All right. And we thank you both for being here today. And we look forward to there being a fruitful workshop tomorrow as we try to improve on and to have the continuity of the art form here in SVG. All right. So thanks very much for being here with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Before you go, Kaba, Anne is sending greetings to you, and the freighter, she said to say hello, as well as Jimmy.
All right. I tell them thank you, and thanks for the service to Calypso and culture as a whole as well. They live in the diaspora, so you see how we have our people strategically placed. And you also brag and say we are the creators of Raga Soca, and we're the only country in the Caribbean that has a tent in the diaspora, and that tent is Dynamite Calypso tent based in Brooklyn, New York.
Yes, indeed. All right. So have a good one today, gentlemen. All right.
Thank you.